Here is anytime when you're in IntelliPen. Also, another thing notice too is these are context. This is the context bar down here. So when you change a tool, like I'll go back to regular pen, what you'll see is there's not as many things down here. There's just basic things like your colors and your ink styles, and you've got some, line styles and things like that.
Dasher styling.
And that. So if I go to IntelliPen, I have all that and more. A lot of stuff grayed out, but it gives me access to a lot of the same things that are in the submenus. So anytime, I'll just make another new page. Down here I've got this graph. So if I show grid lines, it puts a graph up on top of anything. And if I do this one more and I go snap to grid lines, now if I do this and it's a little off, it should snap it to the grid. So the nice thing is, you can plot points, and geometry was not one of my better subjects. But you can see, you can do that. And then if you want, you get things exactly where you want it, you can come back over here and just say, take it away. Take it away. So it's an overlay, basically, is what it is. I can put it back. And
take it away.
I can also, if I go into properties of it, on that, which one is it? It's view.
Yeah.
I can make the grid size, I always remember, because I think of properties is like the other tools, but it's actually view, because once again, it's an overlay. It's something that's a layer, so it's not...
It's like a transparency.
Yeah, it's not like the markings, the annotations. So if I want to make my grid size bigger, I can. If I want to make my grid size smaller, I've just got to, kind of like with the width of the colors, I've got that. Or anywhere in between. And like I said, I can always come back and take it off or whatever. So that's very handy because that gives you, infinite's not the right word, but it gives you almost an infinite grid paper of different sizes that you can use. And you can make it the size you want. And do it that way and everything too. And then, like I said, it's great too, even for people who are not maybe making a geometry exercise or something. Because if you want to draw something and you want it in certain quadrants on your page, it helps to, for the unartistic like myself, it helps us to put things in the right place for the page and stuff too. So that's one of the ways you could do it. But you could see that you could do things like that. So if I come over here and I just went, no, I'll just do that. I just want to see what that would be. I could also come over here and probably bring up a flash protractor too. And do that. Stuff like that. And of course, this is a flash protractor, so it'll move around and stuff like that. And then to just get rid of it, you just make it go away. So you've got some abilities to do that.
That's so fun.
So cool.
And one of the nice things about the IntelliPen is, and I'll show you, if I make an object and I come over here and grab the eraser, well, the eraser's not going to erase that. It snapped it into an object. So I could select it, delete it, but one of the easiest things to do, in IntelliPen, is just make a quick X through it. It goes away.
Question about that. We use variables, so we use the letter X a lot. Is that
be in a regular pen?
Well, either do it in regular pen, won't be quite as neat, or, that's a great question, you checks in the mail. Slow boat. But what you can do is, if I make an X in one motion, it's going to take out that circle, or anything that's under it. If I do this, it won't. Still straightens up the lines. I just don't do it in one motion. That one I did poorly, so it didn't even make it a straight line. So, yeah, if you do it like this, you can do it in one motion. When in regular pen, you can do it in one motion because it's not going to delete it. If you do it in IntelliPen and you don't want it to delete, just don't do it in one motion. Let it refresh for a second. Or if you want to get rid of all of it, you do that.
The difference when you do it in one fluid motion, it detects it as one gesture.
Is one gesture. And if you don't do it in one fluid motion, it's going to straighten up each line. Just like if I make a line here like this, it's going to straighten it up because it's in the IntelliPen. So it's just like with the X. If I wanted to save this line but I didn't want to make it go away, I just do that, as opposed to. Now, it takes some getting used to, and if you do it by mistake, and you say, oh, wow, I did that, and it knocked out what I took so long to do behind, remember, you've always got undos and redos. And if you don't see a redo, that's another thing. When the IntelliPen, you've got undos and redos down here. So you don't even have to have, if you stay in IntelliPen a lot of times and you take the toolbar off here, I can come over here and say, well, I did this. Oh wow, that was a mistake. Now I can pull it back. Or if I wanted to do steps, another thing too, you see the way I did with the refresh time. If you write out a formula or a problem and you hesitate, every time you hesitate will be another step, because it's capturing the image. So I did this for the last one. The people didn't laugh, but y'all know. So if I go, I call this a salesman math. If I go 2 plus 2 and I hesitate, and then I go equal and I hesitate, and then I go 4. Well, now that should be different steps. So I can go. Or I could have hesitated. If it was a long formula, I could have put x squared whatever, then stopped, then done more. And I mean, I've seen chemistry teachers do it where they get it down to where, you know, they've got 10 steps in something. And then I can pull it back just by doing that. So I like to show that undos and redos are not just for mistakes anymore. You know, there's ways to use them. Now remember, if you have students come up and write, you're adding steps to it. So, you know, always remember there's a variable in, because it's just an undo and a redo. It's not, you know, it doesn't have artificial intelligence to know that, well, don't redo this or don't undo this. But that's another way you can use undos and redos, is just simply by doing, you know, problems, and maybe you want to hide something. And another thing you can do too that's simple, if you're doing math and problems like that, maybe you want to hide something and you want them to come up and write the answer to a question or a problem, and maybe we'll act like that square is the answer. You can put it up out of vision by scrolling. That's another gesture. You can either use the palm of your hand or your fist. I think it works a little bit better when I do this, have a little control over it, and then you can pull it back down. So that's another way. You don't even have to leave the page, and you can say, okay, well, that was important. I'll get that out of the way. They come over and they write something, yada, 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 whatever, and then you come back and say, nope, you're wrong. You know, whatever it may be. If you wanted to square and they did a straight line, then you know they're not paying attention.
Does IntelliPen correct misspelled words?
What's that?
You write a word and it's misspelled, does it correct it?
No, that's, well, if you misspell a word, nothing in this is going to correct it. It's not a spell check.
Okay, all right.
But there is a tool called the text pen. Then if I come over here and I just write my name and I don't hesitate, it should turn it into text. Hopefully it won't call me a name or something.
Oh my God.
Tapia, you need that.
One of the things I pointed out to one of the first groups this morning is this is good for a few words here, maybe a number. You know, if you want like something to look a little bit better, you know, it'll do numbers and things like that. It won't do subscripts and stuff like that. So if you wanted to do something like a squared, you just do a smaller one. Yeah, I have to do it a little different. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, I have to make the little squiggly on that for it to be 2, or 9 sees it as a Z. But because it's more character recognition than anything. It's not really, it's not really like a spell check, and did you mean this letter or that letter? It'll get you somewhere in the neighborhood if you're, you know, right. And I don't do cursive very well, and actually I do it wrong, but it's still.
Oh,
good.
cool.
Do my, like, printing.
I did that in front of some English teachers one day, and they said, that's not
Oh, show them that X issue that you told us about, where I think if you did it just like one X and another, it didn't detect it as an X, it did 2 1s or something. Isn't that what it was?
Oh, yeah, I know what it was. I was just trying to write something kind of fast, and I went, I think I was trying to do, I was trying to do 2 times 2 equals or something on that. Well, that one it did. Somehow I did one fast earlier, and it came out to 2112. I'm not sure what I did. I just did something really weird. on that. So it's pretty good at making things neater, but like I've told teachers before, and you're a math teacher, so this wouldn't be a problem, but don't try to write a paragraph in it. I mean, because nothing is really going to do as good a job as you just sitting down and typing something on that, with that type of particular stuff on this. But this one, you know, when you're in this pen, see, it still tried to make that as an O and stuff like that. Yes, ma'am.
Can you do like other math symbols, like a square root or like fractions and stuff in this text pen?
Let's just say a simple fraction. No.
Okay.
Because it's more of a text pen,
Yeah.
is what it's looking for. I know some basic numbers and stuff it's going to do,
Mm-hmm.
and like
Equal
X,
sign.
it's going to see as a times, because it's really seeing it as an X,
Right.
not so much that it's times. But no, it's not. It's not really not really for math symbols or whatever. What you could do on that, and a lot of people do, is if you in your gallery, sometimes I can't remember what they have. They have a lot of this. A lot of this is just flash stuff, more so than actual thing. If you have clip art and you want to put clip art, you have clip art that has that stuff in your computer, you can access it from the gallery. This is the stuff that's already in there, but if you go to this one, favorites folder, anything you save will go in there, but if you hit the drop down, anything you have in your computer, in your drives, or pictures, or whatever, you can access. See, there's a JPEG of Will Smith.
Oh, who's that? Oh,
Will
yeah,
Smith.
One of my